What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the BS show. We got a huge fight coming up in a few weeks, I believe in a couple weeks there, January 24th, which is a Sunday. We got Dan Hooker fighting the UFC newcomer, Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler was our former Bellator champion. If you have not had an opportunity to watch him or see some highlights of Michael Chandler, I highly recommend you do so. The dude is an animal. He's a great wrestler. He's got great striking. He's beat some very, very good fighters in Bellator, and he's their champion, or was their champion. So this is his first fight in the UFC. I'm super excited about it. I knew the UFC was going to put him up against a perennial contender, and it looks like Dan Hooker's that guy. And Dan Hooker is more than happy to step into the octagon with Michael Chandler. Dan Hooker is very confident in his ability and what he wants to do, and I think this is going to be a clash of two titans. Dan Hooker trains down there in New Zealand. He's got an amazing fight team. He comes from an amazing camp, and the dude is winning over the hearts and minds of UFC fans and fighters all over the globe. The dude it just seems like a genuine guy, and he throws down. He fights with the best of them, and he cannot wait to get his hands on Michael Chandler. On the opposite side of the spectrum, Michael Chandler is coming in to make a splash in the UFC lightweight division. He understands that a lot of people think the UFC is definitely the pinnacle of the fight game, and he wants to come in and shut everybody up because I think there's a little bit of chatter that he might not do very well in the UFC. We've seen it many times before where guys come over from different fight organizations and they don't do too hot, or they win a couple fights and then, once some people figure them out, they kind of just slowly dissolve and disappear. So he's coming in to make a statement. If he can get a win against Dan Hooker, that would be really, really good for Michael Chandler's brand, especially being his first fight in the UFC, to come over and beat a guy who is definitely in line for a title shot. If a couple things go his way, you couldn't deny Michael Chandler at that point. So I feel like both of these guys are right there on the pinnacle of that championship fight. Michael Chandler, being a former champion, he knew he was probably going to get thrown into the fire. If he can get this win, he will more than likely, maybe get a number one contender fight or maybe get a title shot. Same with Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is right there in the mix with the top tier competitors in that lightweight division. So if he gets a win, that definitely gives him, a gold star in the eyes of the UFC brass. If we look through, Dan Hooker's last 5, 6, 7 fights, he's got a lot of big-time wins. He's most recently coming off a loss to Dustin Poirier, where he lost in a unanimous decision. But he's got wins over Paul Felder, Ali Quinta, James Vick, Gilbert Burns, Jim Miller. He's fought a lot of great fighters, and even his losses that he has to Dustin Poirier, Edson Barboza, Yair Rodriguez, Jason Knight, they're not bad losses. So Dan Hooker is definitely, in line for title contention if he can get this win. He just needs to get the win. He's looking better and better and better every single fight. He's growing as a fighter. So I'm super excited to see what happens after this Michael Chandler fight. And if we look at the fight history of Michael Chandler, he's got a lot of big-time wins as well. He's got 2 wins over Benson Henderson, who was our former UFC champion in the lightweight division. One of his losses was to Eddie Alvarez, which is a former UFC lightweight champion. He's got a split with a win and a loss with Patricio Pitbull Freire. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but anybody who knows Pitbull knows he's an absolute stud. So Michael Chandler is not a slouch, and this idea that Michael Chandler is going to come over to the UFC and just get beat up and not do anything, I think is a little bit ridiculous. But I do understand, what people think. I think they just think that Bellator's not at the cream of the crop like the UFC, which, isn't necessarily not true. But I do want to say Michael Chandler's a stud. So if we look at the comparison between these guys, I definitely think Michael Chandler probably has the better wrestling, but I do think Dan Hooker has the better striking. Dan Hooker's longer. I think his striking is probably quite a bit superior to Michael Chandler, but the one thing about Michael Chandler is he's tough as nails. He doesn't quit. He's got a motor on him. So no matter what happens, this fight is going to be dirty. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Let me know who you got in the comments below, and we look forward to watching the fight together.